That's right, guess who? Nick Dutch, back on the camera again one more time. You know, earlier on today I was actually like, I wanted to get another video out today. I thought it'd be really, really cool if I could, but like I was rather stuck for a subject. And then, I got the most wonderful gift of this delightful private message, which has been sent through to me by an individual whose channel name I will not mention. Okay, it says here, "Hello Nick." Hello. I always enjoy your videos, thank you, and your perspectives. One thing I've noticed is that you stay away from the dark side of occultism and seem to have an essentially Christian worldview. Well, do I actually agree with that? I mean, is it necessarily a Christian worldview to be what I call a transcendental deist, to experiment with altered states of consciousness techniques such as those which can be arrived about through religious techniques for the purposes of walking outside of your body or getting some kind of experience or potential hypothetical experience of a spiritual being of one form or another? Is it essentially a Christian worldview to attempt to influence, no matter how slightly, somebody else's mind as a result of apparently occult happenings? I don't think so. Also, although I do feel that there is a great therapeutic aspect to things which are present within religion, I think that that should be kept as therapeutic aspects of things which can be found in religion, basically, rather than necessarily saying that that is essentially Christian, because the Christian method is essentially through contemplation, not necessarily through mind-altering techniques. So I personally do differ quite dramatically from Christianity. That is why I am actually a transcendental deist, although I do some Christian things, okay? So, hope I've cleared that up. I would say there's an awful lot of good which has come out of Christianity, but there's an awful lot of stuff which people do disagree with. And what do you mean when you say the dark side of occultism? The word dark and occult often refers to things which are hidden or obscured from normal worldview. That would actually include things which Christians do, such as prayer, for instance. I mean, for crying out loud, please don't use woody phrases, okay, I don't want to sound like I'm shouting at you saying don't use woody phrases. If you want to use woody phrases, you use woody phrases, okay? But, if you're trying to express a concept, precision is good. You've tried to be quite precise there. I feel that you're using something which is a culturally accepted phrase, but I don't feel it's necessarily deep enough, okay? What I hope I've done is point out that there is a difference, or an apparent difference between the way that I tend to do things and the way that other people within Christianity in general tend to do things, although there is Christian witchcraft and Christian voodoo, that's Santeria, that's all Christian as well, and that's not all geared to self-actualization, therapy, dealing with your issues, and so on and so forth now, is it? So, what is the Christian worldview in this particular case? I don't think there is a singular Christian worldview, so we got to throw that term out the window. Anyway, on with the comment. Well, private message. I respect that, but when I look at the world, I see a place that's fundamentally dark and evil. To which, at that point, I'm not too sure. Because nature has equipped us as a species to be able to do things which are good for us. Okay, such as the building I'm living in, the clothes on my back. Just as two examples. Okay, so there is good in the world which we create. So you can't say it's fundamentally dark and evil if there are very common things which can be mentioned and are within most people's experiences which are in fact fundamentally good. The PM goes on. The machinery of nature is hellish and we are part of that. Well, no, the machinery of nature is that of propagation, reproduction, and the provision of and harvesting of food, and sometimes it can go through rather dark means. But if I was to give an example of when the wolves were reintroduced to Yellowstone Park, They only hunted down the elk who were already sick and damaged. They didn't hunt down the healthy elk, although I'm sure they were quite capable of bringing down a healthy elk if they wanted to. Does that show some compassion? And what about the example that was on the news recently of the orangutan that reached into the water and saved a little chick that was, struggling, a tiny little baby chick? That shows empathy amongst the natural creatures. So the machinery of nature includes this beauty, this compassion, this empathy, and so many other great things. The comment goes on and says, and we are a part of that, so it seems to me that we are all living in hell already. There's a hell of a lot of things wrong with the world. There's bad policies, there's bad distributions of resources, there's civil wars, there's a lot of lies in the world which is stimulating people to do bad things. And the only way to change that is to actually be a part of something which does some good. That's why I'm a part of this charity which actually feeds starving people, poor starving people who can't get food in my own country, in my own city. Alright, these people get food because of my donations and my participation. Okay, we can do something to try and alleviate some of it. We can challenge some of the ideas which are negative. We can participate in what Eliphas Levi called a magical chain, namely a massive group of people, a movement, who are dedicated to a particular cause, and try and do something about some of the problems in the world. We can start up movements, as people have tried to do here on the internet, to try and challenge some bad ideas. That there's ways in which we can act to reduce the aspects of this world, which is hell, and to make it good. The PM goes on. This would explain why the masters of this world are so often evil, because it's an evil world, and of course the evil will prosper. Well, how do you mean by evil? Okay, how do you mean by evil? Yes, sure, there's people who want to reach the top, and they often have like a sociopathic or psychopathic mentality. Is that evil? Well, evil is subjective. Okay, if a leader suddenly takes control via their sociopathic desire to control the world, okay, but what they do when they're in power is to provide things like a national minimum wage, alright, and to improve the economy, and to help fight crime, assist with funding for medical research. Where is the evil there? I mean, there's lots of complex things. It's very easy if you're in a negative state of mind, a really depressive, angry, frustrated, hate-filled state of mind, to only see unpleasantness. But basically, that's not the whole equation. That's only a very small part of it. And with the passage of time, as you start to progress, you can sometimes deal with it and get more in the way of real perspective, okay? And getting perspective is how you can start to see that the world is not all evil, and that you are a conscious part of the world capable of causing change for good. Now, the comment goes on further. The message of most religions seems to be that there will only be salvation from evil in God's kingdom in the next life. Because the Lord of this world is the devil. Well, actually in Christianity, which you seem to hate, suggests that salvation happens for the individual when they accept a particular standard of righteousness, which gives them a concept which they can follow and try and emulate in some ways, or to grow to become like. So as far as where salvation kicks in, no, your statement is incorrect there. I think that salvation occurs in different religions in different ways, but essentially the main message, the way it appears to be, is that there are paths of development which have concepts in them and actions in them which can do you some good and can lead you to become an individual who is, as it were, saved or progressed or moving up the caste system or the spiritual class system or whatever it is, to to kind of like reach that, to do better for yourself on a deeper inner level. But this particular, this message here says, because the Lord of this world is the devil, Satanists recognize this and pursue the left-hand path and means of acquiring power in this life. Well, hang on a minute, so do Christians. There's plenty of Christians out there who believe that they've got all of their wealth and power because of their Protestant work ethic. And they've worked hard and the Lord has blessed them. Alright, and they dedicate themselves to the Lord so they can carry on being blessed with money. Just money, property, good furniture, all that stuff. I mean, that's the mentality there. Okay, is that satanic? No, it's a Christian concept there. So, you can't say that Satanists go for the left-hand path when essentially it's a Christian concept to acquire power in this life with the help of reverence for their deity concept, which is what you're saying the Satanists do as well. So, your perspective there is either very wrong or very Christian. Which is very strange, because it appears that you've got some kind of satanic perspective yourself, and you feel that Satanism best represents this material world, carnal, kind of like success, power, and all the rest of it mentality, when basically that is present in Christianity. Okay? It may be there in Satanism itself. I have a fair knowledge of Satanism. I choose not to identify myself with that fashion, really. Nietzsche saw this as a fundamental problem of philosophy and proposed that we make ourselves into supermen who are beyond good and evil. That's an interesting statement. But essentially, does that necessarily mean getting rid of the concept of guilt or empathy for society? No. It means having a much more advanced understanding of how to behave in specific circumstances when you need to survive and you need to achieve. That's all. The message goes on. People like Aleister Crowley and Jack Parsons tried to actually become such supermen with dubious results. Did they? So, was Aleister Crowley running the biggest bank in the world? No. I don't know much about Jack Parsons, but Aleister Crowley did not try and become such a superman, okay? He was a lunatic who overdid the heroin. Okay, and he went barking mad because he didn't know what he was doing. He didn't research, he didn't think, he didn't plan, he didn't work out what ideas he should be inserting into his mind or what ideas he shouldn't be inserting into his mind through, in-depth, high quality of concentration type exercise which come out of ritual magic. Okay? He made a mistake. I mean, his ceremony, one of the ones which I think was supposed to have driven him insane, was the knowledge of his own personal holy guardian angel to try and find his true nature. That's what it was about. It wasn't, I want to become God, or I want to become a superman who can control the world. No, it wasn't. I think you've misunderstood Crowley, and I think you've misunderstood and misrepresented Satanism, Thelema, Christianity, and an awful lot there. Now, if you've got a dark perspective on life, fine. That's you and that's your issue, but I do see that as being an issue. Okay? And maybe it's something you need to deal with. Because what you're coming out with is misrepresentations and also saying all this left-hand path stuff. It's no different to vast quantities of Protestantism. Because within Protestantism, a belief is that when you go to work, you're not just working for your boss, you're also working for God. So you work harder, you work faster, you do everything you can to succeed. Alright? And you try and climb the ladder because you're working for God. Which I personally think is a bit balmy, but, some people do think like that. Just something to think about.